Teddy Nanoze. I don't know how to describe her in full, but she works with the Independent. Teddy, very nice to have you.
Just say Teddy Nanosi is a senior, one of the few senior female journalists Uganda has been in the Monitor. She's been one of the most senior business editors in this country.
Still in the trenches.
She moved out. She's back to it. She's journalism in the blood.
Exactly. No one could have done it better than Chris has done it.
Thank you, Chris.
Nicholas Sengova.
A liberal.
Timothy Nyakauma Kaligira should be joining us, as well as Onapito Ekomloit along the way. It's been a week packed with news since the last time we were here. Two ministers throwing the towel yesterday under pressure, but also after being disowned by cabinet. A cabinet subcommittee meeting, as cabinet subcommittee said they wouldn't defend Kidu Makubuya, former Attorney General, who was minister in the office of the Prime Minister, and Saida Bbumba, Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development. She was previously Minister for Finance. Over compensation to businessman Hassan Basajabalaba, actually Haba Group, and Rhino Investments. Rhino Investments is not being discussed as much. Haba is being discussed, received 142 billion. The president amended that and said it was 169 billion for lost markets.
Also Sheila Investments.
And Sheila Investments for markets that they lost, and the president decided that they be given back to the vendors. That is to businessman Hassan Basajabalaba. They resigned. Makubuya reverted to the Bible, said there is time for everything. Was reading from Ecclesiastes yesterday. Saida Bbumba was smiling all the way as she announced her resignation, and people were wondering, is this really serious resignation? But then there is a spinner, the Red Paper running a story today. When people from Western Uganda were in trouble, a special caucus was called to defend them. Why hasn't a special caucus been called to defend these two? And that Red Paper story is quoting former Vice President Gilbert Balebaseka of Kenya. The politics and the economics of compensation. Beyond the politics, how will this impact? A conference of gay activists in Entebbe is broken up by Ethics and Integrity Minister Reverend Father Simon Lokodo. He had been absent for a very long time. He addressed a press conference at the media center today. I don't know what he was talking about, but how he arrived and said he only wanted to talk to them, sweet-talked his way into the workshop, into the conference, but it was ending anyway. It had been running for 2 weeks, and he went there on the eve of the last day and broke it up, which was on the eve of Valentine's Day. Lukwago versus Musisi. Looks like Lukwago has finally gotten where he wanted Jennifer Musisi, with that letter from the Auditor General questioning a lot of financial handling at the Kampala Capital City Authority. The nodding disease continues to be neglected. No answers are being found. Scientists yesterday said they had ruled out all the other theories they thought were propagating this disease, which has been in northern Uganda since about 2004, only becoming realized to such a level in 2008. We'll be discussing these and other issues, of course, the death of Whitney Houston and Fred Maiso, we should add. Let me start with Teddy. The thing about there is the policy of Makubuya, Bbumba, the resignation, the threats of censure, attempts tying the president, and him working very hard to distance himself. Last week we were discussing about a letter from him saying he had found new evidence and was therefore changing his position. Then an immediate denial from State House. But on the same day, when we were running the denial, New Vision was running confirmation of the story we had run the previous day. And the next day, they ran the denial. So there were many U-turns in that story. Many people are receiving compensations from government. Very many people. Why is the Basajabalaba compensation unique?
I think part of what makes Basajabalava's compensation unique is, one, it's so big. And this is not the first, this is not the only money he's getting from government. Before he got guarantees for loans from commercial banks, from the Bank of Uganda. And it has to do with a matter that was really, it arises from a matter that was popular in the public sentiments, markets for poor people, from which this big, well-connected political tycoon now benefits. I think that's part of what makes it really big. Though it is, like you say, it's not the only one. There are many more. I guess if one wanted to go and investigate in the Ministry of Justice, how many compensations are made for people who are well connected, ministers, companies. I think there is a lot to find.
Nick, I'll come to you. The compensation is one issue. How it's been handled is another issue. And people have been reading so much into this. The former Attorney General and now former Minister for General Duties in the Office of the Prime Minister, Makubuya, in that letter to the President, half pleading, half trying to blackmail the President, as how it was interpreted. The Observer ran a very interesting story, analysis of why the flip-flopping. He said, if I am taken to court, the person accusing me will be the current Attorney General, Peter Nyombi. And in the dock will be criminal Makubuya, the immediate successor. And he said he might reveal a lot of truth of what has gone on in government that may not look good. Why do you think the government, President Museveni, decided to keep a distance from him and keep denying and saying, I won't touch you with a long stick, literally?
The president has his own reasons. I'll look at it in my own way. One, there's a basic principle about those who trade on the sea. When the ship is sinking, you throw out what is of lesser value than, If you look at Makubuya and Bbumba, the case we have here is like one we had 1 or 2 years ago in Kenya, surrounding the sale of Grand Regency Hotel, where the Kenyan government was embroiled in that controversy. The World Bank came in, the American government, and Kenya had lost some money through through some sort of corruption, and the president was involved. It was quite obvious when the MPs were coming for him, when the MPs were raising the issue. To bring down the pressure, the Minister of Finance, Amos Kinyua, resigned. As we speak today, Kinyua is now a minister once again. So there's nothing so complicated about these things. We bring them and we discuss them here. We've brought in an expert to tell us this. There's really nothing big about this. What you have in Uganda here is a project way back. President Museveni has told you, I went to hunt. I will decide what I do with the animal. And you know very well there are many ways of skinning a cat, the faster way and the fastest way. These are some of the issues that you have. There are very many ways of cheating the people of Uganda. Those compensations you're seeing there is outright cheating the people of this country. Period.
Do you think with the ministers giving way, will Basajja Balaba be the next? Will he end up being prosecuted? Because the push today was they need to be prosecuted. Members of Parliament asking.
The most important thing is not even Basajja Balaba to be prosecuted. If a crime has been committed, and there is a substantial amount which we know is 142 billion or 160, whatever it is, are we going to get the money refunded with interest? That's the most important thing. There are people who are dying of diseases because there is no money, nodding disease and all that,
They took 100 million and
no, we are talking about 142 billion, not even million, and you're telling me about 100 million. So those are the most important things. This one is just a red herring. The ministers have, when they can come back tomorrow, there's nothing that stops them from becoming ministers again. Secondly, what sort of work were those ministers doing? Is it general duties? Someone told
the
me
office of the Prime Minister.
Someone told me ministers for general duties usually do photocopying. So what is there? What is so big about that?
That actually may not be true.
I don't know. I just said someone told me. I didn't say it was true. So that is what is most important. We are. These are red herrings. So and so has resigned. Parliament has done this. What is most important? Are we going to get compensation for that? If at all the money was given, fraudulently.
John, let me turn to you just before we take the break. With the resignation of these two ministers, you have about almost 10 open vacancies in cabinet. There are those who are rejected by Parliament's Public Appointments Committee, Parliament's Appointments Committee rather. There are those who stepped aside, though it's apparent that some of them are still executing some of their responsibilities, especially the Minister of Foreign Affairs, from what we hear. But how is this being interpreted? You work for international media. The interest in that story is this apparent big fight against corruption in the country and how it's being handled. How is it being received? What's your take?
Well, obviously, some political maneuvering is going to take place as a result of those vacancies. What concerned me yesterday was the response that Parliament gave in basically forcing these two ministers to resign. I thought the mood was very self-congratulatory, and no one really stopped to put matters into perspective. They seemed very self-satisfied, as if we have achieved something large, touching on what Nicholas had said. We need to put this into perspective. A lot more needs to be done. And the way that people were banging on tables yesterday in Parliament, embracing in glee, you would have thought that they had won the World Cup for Uganda.
Not a Cup of Nations.
Won the World Cup. And I think, to put it in perspective, it's more as if they eked out a draw in the African Cup in the first round. And it's a good start, but there's a long way to go. And I didn't see anybody yesterday actually asking for perspective. I didn't see anybody saying we've got a long way to go. And I think, furthermore, a lot of politicians yesterday used the opportunity to deflect scrutiny from themselves. And said, look, these guys are rotten and so forth, when the rot in Parliament runs a lot deeper than that. And so I saw a lot of opportunism taking place yesterday. And so we shouldn't jump the gun and assume that the fight against corruption is on. Good start, long way to go.
Chris, I'll pick it up with you after the break. Politically, what constituency does Makubuya, Bbumba, Kawakumba Masiko represent that could shake anything?
You'll get the answers
Live
and clear.
KFM Hot Seat.
The hottest debate on all relevant topics, live.
Every evening, 7 to 8 p.m.
KFM Hot Seat, in association with
Nile Gold, a crystal malt lager beyond an ordinary malt.
There is only one radio station which gives you all the news and information you need.
This is KFM News.
News bulletins every hour. News updates half past the hour, the whole day long.
And